Oh, wow. Video. Okay, so let's begin. So we want to begin with a sense of kindness towards ourselves. It doesn't have to feel overwhelmingly kind. It can be very awkward for us to be kind to ourselves. So you don't you don't need to force it. What you need to do is just move in the direction of kindness towards yourself. And it can help to realize that you are here meditating with almost no doubt that you are here to somehow improve your life or make yourself happier or more relaxed. So it is already a kindness towards yourself. Likewise, meditation is the practice of giving attention to your life and to yourself. And that also is a kindness. So it's really important that as we practice moving our attention around and concentrating, that we have a flavor of kindness to that concentration. We aren't trying to fix things. We are there to be helpful and kind. And we could also add a little smile to our face. It could be interior at first. You might want to try at least for a second just to see what a smile feels like on the face. It's okay if these things feel a little forced. Most of us are in a deficit of kindness towards ourselves. So we don't believe that we deserve kindness. There's some part of us that knows we deserve kindness and believes it, but there's also a part of us that doesn't think we deserve it. And that part won't feel comfortable when we start to give ourselves kindness. So that's okay. How is that part going to start getting comfortable? If we keep giving it kindness, right? Eventually it'll go, I must be deserving of kindness because the kindness keeps coming. And so we just have to practice that. And the meditation is already a practice of that, but we might as well make it conscious. Add a little smile. Same thing with the smile. The smile is telling the system, hey, we're relaxed, we're happy. And even if we don't feel relaxed and happy, we start moving in that direction. And that can be a whole meditation practice. It can be the whole sit, but we'll just do that while we're doing other things. So we're going to start with just a little bit of breath practice that's a little bit aggressive. And then we will let go of all effort. So we're going to count our breaths. We're going to breathe in for 6, and we're going to breathe out for 12. When we breathe out, we're actually attempting to breathe out all the way to the bottom. So there's actually some forcefulness in the lower belly as we push all the air out. Don't do anything that will hurt oneself. We're just going to wake up the breathing body by doing this. So we're going to breathe in on your next out breath for 6. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3 more in your own time. And breathing all the way out. Still counting to 12. Activating every last muscle in the lower belly to squeeze out the last of the air. When you're done with that, just sit for a couple of minutes. And just sit with where you are now. You may notice that the belly is more activated in the breathing. We're going to start practicing just attending to ourselves without trying to change anything. Your thoughts may be active, your emotions may be active, your body may feel pleasant or uncomfortable. That's all fine. We're just letting it be there. And we're going to start following our breath. But the key instruction is to look at our breath with kindness and without trying to change anything. So we're going to give it attention without intention. Any attempt to change a thing is an intention. So we're just going to allow it to happen as it wants. As we tend with the breath will come in and go out on its own rhythm. It doesn't require you to control it. That's difficult at first, because the mind likes to control what it's attending to. But your breath manages all day long without you attending to it. So now we're going to practice attending to it without intending anything. And we can start by turning our attention to the nostrils. And we're beginning our concentration practice now. There are lots of things that may distract us in our mind or in the world. We bring a kind of gentle, kind attention to the air coming in and out of our nostrils. A practice I'm going to teach you today is called in, out, whole body. So we're going to begin with noticing the in and the out of the breath. As the breath comes in, turn your attention to it. As the breath goes out, turn your attention to that. In the nostrils right now. Remembering the first and most important instruction here is to not interfere, is to achieve a kind of non-interference with the breath. So as you breathe out, wait for it to pause. Wait for the breath to come in. You don't need to make it come in. It will come in when it wants to. It will breathe out when it wants to. It will breathe out for exactly the length it wants to. And all your job is to notice that, experience the breath exactly the way it is right now. The second important thing is to work on the concentration so that you're there for the whole time. It's okay that your mind will wander to distractions or thoughts or discomfort. That's very normal. Your second job, your first job is non interference, your second job is concentration. In, out. We're noticing the in breath from the beginning all the way to the end of the in breath. We're noticing the out breath from the beginning of the out breath all the way to the ending of the out breath. We aren't interfering, and we have a kind attention that may include a slight smile, a relaxation in the face. Now, maybe you have a sinus issue or there's some itchiness, but other than that, most of the problems of your life are not here. So enjoy that. It's just air coming in the nostrils and going out. Just notice if you start controlling the breath and let go. That's very normal as well. We're not trying to make the breath better or smoother or more relaxed. The truth is, the more attention you give the breath without interference, it will, over time, maybe not in this sit, but over time, start to slow down and get deeper. But you have to give it the space to do that. And so we're going to move our attention back now into what you might call the sinuses or behind the nose, and sort of it goes down to the back of the mouth. Can you feel the air? It goes in the nostrils, and the next place it goes is in behind the nose. So we're turning our attention to that part of the face. This is a concentration task. We're moving our attention from the nostrils to behind the nose. While still not controlling the breath, just waiting for the breath to begin and waiting for it to end. And only beginning and ending in this part. It's as if the breath starts behind the nose and it ends behind the nose. In, out. So let's move our attention again, and now we'll move into the throat. So it goes through the nostrils and behind the face, but now we're going to focus on the air in our throat, in the interior, but also the muscles in the exterior of the throat and neck. As we continue to move through the body, you might notice that there are parts of your breathing experience that are numb or hard to sense, or painful, or constricted. None of that is wrong. We're giving it attention and allowing it to be that way. That is part of your breath right now. We're not trying to fix that. We're just giving it attention. Over time, numbness will thaw if you give it kind attention. Over time, pain and constriction will relax. But we can't make that happen. We have to wait. And so right now we're looking at the breath as it is and accepting the breath as it is. Many of us have emotional stuff in our throats. It's very normal. So can you feel with your concentration the breath moving through this part of your body? While also feeling anything else going on there. So we're noticing the in-breath, we're noticing the out-breath. We're noticing after the out-breath, there's a pause often, and we just wait, and then the in-breath begins again without our needing to do anything. And the in-breath goes as long as it wants, and then it stops and turns around, and we start to notice the out-breath. And it goes as long as it wants, and then it stops, and there's usually a little pause. It could be tiny. We wait, and the in-breath begins again. So now these three areas that we've touched on, we're going to do them all together now. We're noticing the nostrils, behind the nose, in the sinuses, and in the throat. They're all connected together, but we're not noticing it as if we're following the breath. We're noticing the whole area as one whole experience. The breath happens in the nostrils and in the throat at the same time. So we just notice the whole experience. We're moving a little bit wider. We're just letting our attention soak into this part of our body, soak into the nostrils, soak into the sinuses, soak into the back of the mouth and the throat, all the way down to the top of the rib cage. And again, we're noticing, but not controlling. We're practicing non-interference, kindness. There's no way your breath is supposed to feel right now. So in a moment, I'm going to add a piece to this type of meditation, but you don't need to do it if it starts to make it too complicated. The practice we're doing right now as we move through the body, a very powerful concentration practice, which will slowly connect your breath and calm your nervous system. There's nothing you have to add to it if you don't want to. So it's just in, out, attending the whole time. But the practice is called in, out, whole body. So we're going to add in whole body. That means we breathe in and we notice the in breath. We breathe out and we notice the out breath. And if there's a pause at the end of that out breath, we notice the whole body. Then when the in breath begins again, we turn our attention back to the in breath, follow it to the top. We notice the out breath. And then in that little pause, we notice the whole body. And right now we're in breath in the throat, sinuses, nostrils, out breath, throat, sinuses, and nostrils. Pause, whole body. So we're non-interfering with the breath. We're in non-interference. We're in non-interference with the whole body. And the only thing we're controlling is our attention. And there's a concentration practice. We're attending to this part of the body up top here on the in-breath and on the out-breath. And in the pause, we're attending to the whole body. In, out, whole body. In, out, whole body. So the concentration has a little bit of a zoom in and zoom out aspect at this point. If any part of your breath is too uncomfortable, either emotionally or physically, then you can skip it. You're totally allowed to do that. In fact, if you feel really unfocused or really emotional, I would find the part of your breath that feels okay or good and just stay with that. You can still do in and out, and you could do in, out, and whole body if you wanted as well. Over time, you'll want to bring attention to the areas that are more challenging. Well, you don't have to do that today or any particular day. Okay, so we continue with our concentration practice by moving to attend to the whole rib cage from the sternum all the way around to the spine, all the way down to the diaphragm. So we're letting go of the head, neck area. And for now, we're moving our attention into the rib cage, lungs area. We breathe in, we breathe out. We don't try to force anything to happen. And then we notice the whole body if we want. If you're breathing really deeply into your belly, you might not notice very much motion in your rib cage. That's fine. Or you might notice a lot. There's also quite a bit of emotion down the front of the sternum. That's very normal. Any tightness or constriction or emotion or numbness is just sort of a hidden intention in your body. It's a pattern that hasn't played itself out yet. And we're letting go of intention right now. So we just allow it to be there without controlling it. In, out, whole body. And so just like before, now we're going to connect all those parts together. So now we're going to do the rib cage, the throat, the sinuses, and the nostrils all together. We're not following the air like a train through these parts of the body. We're noticing them all as one balloon, expanding and contracting. You can see the concentration practice is sort of getting zooming in, zooming out. Here we're kind of zoomed out on the whole upper part of our body, our respiratory part of our body. And then we do that on the in-breath and the out-breath. And then in between, we notice the whole body all the way down, the feet, the top of the head, the back, the bones. When we notice the whole body, nothing is separate. Every part of our body is welcome in that experience. So those parts that are painful or emotional, they are also welcome as part of that whole body experience. Your awareness is bigger than any pain or emotion, but your awareness is also there with any pain or emotion. It's not separate from it. Okay, good. So now let's move our attention into the belly area from the diaphragm, which is like the solar plexus area, all the way down to the perineum, to the very root of our body. And we just feel that whole breathing experience from the spine all the way around to the belly. We aren't trying to control it or make anything particular happen. We are still practicing non-interference, allowing the breath to begin and end when it wants. And if you are doing the in-out whole body, then you notice it breathe in, you notice it breathe out, and then you allow yourself to zoom out and notice the whole body. Then you turn your concentration back as the breath begins again, in, out, whole body. Let's connect that into the rest of it now. So the belly is there, but so is the rib cage, the throat, the sinuses, the nostrils. We're going to notice the whole breathing experience. in those parts of the body. And it breathes in and it breathes out. It's all happening at once. We're noticing the whole thing expand and contract at once. And then as we sink into that end of that out breath, we're just allowing ourselves to zoom out even further and include everything else in the body. We're just going to do this for the final few minutes. For those of you who are a little bit more concentrated today and a little more experienced, when you do that zoom out, you can also just zoom out to awareness, which will include an even wider portion of your experience than just the whole body. So it's in, out, whole body or whole awareness. In, out, whole body, whole awareness. Nothing is excluded. Nothing is interfered with. Everything's allowed to be as it is. Remember, our first task was to practice non-interference. We do not control the breath. Our second task is to practice concentration. So we want to be there for the whole in-breath, be there for the whole out-breath, and then be there for the pause in between. Both these tasks are aided by approaching yourself with kindness, maybe a little interior smile. Okay. Good to see everyone. So for those of you on Facebook, I'm just going to give a little short talk, and then we'll do a question and answer, but that will just be for Zoom, and I will turn off the Facebook at that point. I really encourage everyone to try that practice this week. And you can start at the very basic level and add all the little pieces I add there. It's actually a complex practice. Most of the people on the Zoom class here have got lots of experience. But if you're on Facebook, you might not. And so you might just want to practice just noticing your breath anywhere you want and practicing non-interference. You really want to get into as your concentration is challenged, you just want to get into the sensory experience, really noticing temperature, whether it's cool or hot, whether there's pressure or motion, when there's a shape to the experience. You can slowly add the other elements, really noticing the in-breath, really noticing the out-breath, really starting to move through the body slowly, starting with small and then starting to connect it up so you have a whole body experience. And if you do that all this week, then next week, when I add some more pieces, you will be ready for them. It can't really be overstated how useful continual practice is. So practicing every day, practicing for an extended period of time, those two things really start to rewire your nervous system. If you practice once a week, it's going to have a benefit, but there'll be an exponential benefit if you practice every day for a week. Likewise, I encourage you all, if you want to come before the Saturday sit. We are sitting for a half hour from 9:15 to 9:45 as well, with no guidance, just another practice. Over eons, cliffs can be washed by the ocean down into a sand beach, right? Slowly, like banging and pulling things down. And sometimes meditation, in some sense, meditation is like that. It's just a certain amount of time one needs to sit in open non-interference, in acceptance and kindness with oneself. A certain amount of time that's required to start to balance all the time we do the opposite. We've practiced our whole life interfering with ourselves, not necessarily being kind to ourselves, trying to fix ourselves in our lives. We've practiced resisting our life, right? And so that is a practice of suffering. It's a practice of not liking what's going on. If we would like to have a life where we have more kindness towards ourselves, more acceptance, less suffering, we have to practice that. Can't just have an idea of it. We have to actually practice it. We have to spend minutes and hours actually in the experience of acceptance. And at first, it might not feel awkward. It might feel awkward. It might not feel good. It might seem impossible to change that you will never feel good, that it will never not feel awkward. But I can tell you from personal experience and dozens and dozens of students' experiences and peers' experiences that with consistent practice, the very way you interact with your life can change. It's important for even those of us that are much more experienced to remember that, because when we get into a part of our life that we're not liking, right, or that is difficult, it often has the quality of being permanent, of feeling permanent. We experience it as permanent. We experience it as never going away. And the feeling of permanence can make something permanent. If you keep telling to yourself, this will never go away, this feeling will never go away, it makes it more likely it will never go away. So that's okay, that's normal. So we need to practice. Just being with ourselves, accepting things as they are, as if they never will go away. We're paying very close attention and noticing when we pay very close attention that everything is changing and shifting. And then you can come to a class like this and you can talk to me or your friends or other people who have meditated and go, oh, if you give attention to that, then things do shift. If you spend time being kind to yourself, being attentive to yourself, practicing acceptance and love, then your life gets more accepting, more loving, less suffering. It's just common sense, really. But we're wired not to believe that. So the practice is really important as well, because as we continue talking in this class and other classes, there's things I'll refer to that really you can only understand if you paid really close attention to your experience. You might understand it intellectually, but you won't really get it unless you've been able to see it. So for instance, something I've said in here many, many times is our life is determined, our life is determined by our experience, and our experience is determined by where we put our attention. Right? Your life is just your experience of your life. Your life isn't someone else's experience, right? It's your experience. This part of my life is an experience of a meditation class in a yellow room. Right? Your life right now. This is your life right now. Is your experience right now. Now, part of your experience is a story you're telling yourself. That's part of your experience. The story you're telling yourself. I'm meditating class. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a bad job. I'm here because I'm suffering. I'm whatever it is. It's only part of your experience, but it is part of your experience. So your life is determined by the experience you're having. But your experience is determined by where you put your attention. And right now, there's an infinite number of places you could put your attention, even just in the external world. I want you to notice this. There's a lot of art in this room. So I could attend to that painting or 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 that photograph or that painting or that painting or that painting. I mean, these ones behind me aren't in my experience. Well, they sort of are right there in the picture. I could attend to them there. Or I could attend to them, I could just look. They're all there. They're all part of my experience. And I could just attend to them. And it would be a different experience depending which painting I chose, right? Or I could attend to the sun on the trees outside, or those bees buzzing around those magnolia flowers. Or I could attend to my body. Or I could tend to an infinite number of thoughts I might have, right? I could attend to my normal story of who I am. Can you tell? Can you notice that? Can you notice your normal story of who you are right now? It's there. So my experience of this moment is determined by where I put my attention. Where and maybe how I put my attention. Now, this might seem trivial, but it becomes really important when you notice that there might be one part of your experience that really doesn't feel good. Or one part of your story that really doesn't feel good. And if your habit is, as most human beings' habit is, to attend to the thing that is the least pleasant part of your experience right now, then your experience will be the least pleasant experience you could have right now. That's sort of how we're wired, is to attend to the most problematic part of our experience at any given moment. So there's an infinite number of things we could attend to, but we go and find the thing that will make us the most unhappy, and we attend to that one. A lot of the time, we know that, right? I know some of you who have been sitting with me for a while probably have practiced to get out of that habit, but it's a real habit. It's part of our nervous system, so don't blame yourself. It's part of our evolutionary heritage. So when we practice a couple of things, when we practice kindness towards ourselves and non-interference, well, we're starting to attend to our life in a different way. We're not going to necessarily attend to the worst things right away when we're feeling kind towards ourselves. When we practice non-interference, we're practicing not seeing everything as a problem. Right? We're starting to practice not the habit of not looking for a problem. Non-interference means I'm just going to let everything be. So the problem no longer is that important. If you're just going to let everything be, then you don't need to attend to the problem because you're not going to fix it, right? So practicing non-interference starts to loosen the habit of finding problems to solve, because you're not in the practice of solving problems when you're in non-interference. So we practice kindness and non-interference. That starts to change our experience of our life, because we're no longer completely in this type of attention that finds the problem and tries to fix it because it's not right. And then we're also practicing concentration. What does concentration give us the ability to do? It gives us the ability to choose where we put our attention. So if that painting is the problem, I can let it be there and attend to that painting, which is really exciting and nice. So what I just said is very basic aspect of human life that is not talked about almost at all. You've heard me say it many times, those of you in the Zoom class. But the reason I brought it up is because I wanted to go back and say how you can understand what I just said at an intellectual level, but how many of you were in the moment able to understand it at an experiential level? And there's many levels of that, right? So you can notice that you can pick out that painting or that painting. All of you can notice that, right? You can pick out this part of your body, or you can pick out something outside of your body. You can choose which part of your experience you're selecting. But can you notice the difference between attending with kindness and attending without kindness? Or attending with kindness or attending in your habitual way? Let's just say that. Even to the painting, right? Can you notice the subtle difference between attending with the attitude of non-interference as opposed to your habitual way of attending? Our habitual way of attending is usually I've got to do something, I've got to fix something, I've got to figure something out, I've got to interpret something, I've got to organize something, right? Non-interference is I'm just going to watch and attend. Can you notice the subtle difference? Again, even with a painting where there's nothing to do with it, can you not interfere with it? When we go to a museum and we're looking at paintings, there's a few ways we can do that, right? One could be like, all right, I've got to check off my boxes and see all the good paintings, right? And then I'll have had a good day at the museum. If I've checked my boxes, I saw the Mona Lisa and I saw the da-da-da and da-da-da, right? That's not really a non-interference way of going through. That's a way of sort of accomplishing your task. Or I go up to the painting and now our mind is just so active, right? It's like, okay, I've got to think about this painting, right? I've got to think about why is it good? Why is it bad? What does it mean? What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? All of that's fine, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's still a little bit of interference in there. What would it be like to just look at it with total non-interference? So all of this stuff is very simple, but it's actually very, very subtle as you start to pay attention. How much interfering you're doing, how little kindness you're giving. Also, the concentration piece is very subtle as well. If you're feeling really anxious, it can seem like there's not a place to attend to that isn't anxious. It's just not true, but it can totally seem like that. Or sad or angry or whatever it is. But again, can you subtly start to notice, I'm going to tend to this bedspread. The computer's on a bed right now. I'm going to tend to this bedspread. And if I really am fully attending only to the bedspread, there's literally no problems associated with this bedspread in my story, the story of my life. There's no problems associated with this bedspread. So if my concentration is fully on the bedspread, it's on the softness of it as I touch it, as the color of it, the look of it. So this is a subtle experience. Can you notice the anxiety not retreating into the background? Can you notice the sadness? Can you notice the discomfort? Can you notice just the unsatisfactoriness of your life sort of to fading a little bit in the background as you attend to the whatever it is? Right? And in any given moment, there's an infinite number of things that really don't have any problems in them, even by your standards. So the more you practice what we're teaching here, the more you practice every day, the more the things I'm saying, even though you've heard this a dozen times, if you've heard it a dozen times, the deeper the truth of it becomes. So ultimately, to finish up here, like this truth becomes realizing that your essential reality is your pure awareness, your pure loving awareness. that that's who you really are, and that there are no problems within that pure loving awareness. And with a certain kind of concentration, a certain kind of letting go or non-interference, you can live in that experience. You could do that right now. For many people, that's a very advanced practice, but some people can just pop into it once they realize it's there. But so, although I'm saying something very simple, it ultimately is very, very deep. When you really have the full mastery of concentration and a full mastery of non-interference, you will end up in the truth of your reality. So I encourage you, practice a little bit every day on the cushion, and then practice the rest of the day off the cushion. And for those of you on Facebook who don't know what that might mean, what that might look like, well, you can just take what we talked about today and practice kindness as you're going through your day. Wash the dishes with kindness. Think about your problems with kindness towards yourself. Take a shower with kindness. Have a conversation with kindness. You can just practice that. You can practice non-interference as much as is possible. That can be challenging when you really think you have something you've got to do. But when there's things going on that don't require your interference, don't require you to do anything, just really practice non-interference. Right now, you're just listening to me talk. You don't need to do anything. Just let the words rise and land. You don't need to figure them out. You don't need to write them down. You don't need to, right? That's a practice of non-interference. You can do non-interference while watching television. You can practice non-interference while just walking, right? Your walking will happen without you, just like your breath, and so on and so on. You can practice concentration as well. When you have something to do, really do that thing. Really attend to that thing. You're making food, make the food. You're cutting a carrot, cut the carrot. Really experience what it's like to cut the carrot. You're talking to your friend, really talk to your friend. Don't do 7 other things. You're feeling sad, really feel sad. Okay. So I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. Q&A is really not just discussion. We're going to have discussion. You can report what's going on. You can ask questions, of course. You can ask questions about practice or life or the spiritual life or anything like that. I'm saying this for the Facebook people. If you want to do question and answer, you can definitely write questions on Facebook and I'll go back and look at them later. But if you want to come to class, sign up on Ikaria, and we'll be doing this every Saturday. And I really encourage everybody to try this practice all week and come back next week and tell me how it went. I'm going to stop the Facebook live stream now. I'm going to